Most parents in today's world experience their children growing up and leaving home. This transition is not an easy one, especially if you're a parent who has dedicated most of your time and energy to the needs of your children. For this reason, today I'm going to give you a list of the top things empty nesters can do to improve their experience during this transition. 1. For the vast majority of empty nesters, maybe it's you, when the children leave the home, it is a major shock. There are some parents who chose to focus their lives on their children codependently because they perceive that to be the right and good thing to do, and are therefore super relieved when the children do leave the home so they can finally focus on other things and on themselves. But for the vast majority of parents who suffer from empty nest syndrome, this is not actually the case. Rather, they felt their calling was to be in a support role, to do all the things that parenting requires. Things like caretaking and managing and relationship skills and organizing and focusing on others and structuring things and communicating and educating and providing affection and anticipating needs and fulfilling them. Behavioral management, things like supporting and guiding and protecting and nurturing and devoting yourself. Therefore, the worst part about the children leaving is feeling like your purpose in life left with them. Most empty nesters feel stuck in a hellish limbo where they can't go backwards to the role that they were in anymore, but they also feel like they have no future because their job is just suddenly done. This often causes empty nesters to feel old and past their prime because they didn't have other things going for them than what they were doing with their children. It also tends to throw parents into a depression because they resist accepting this reality and they don't feel that they have much, if anything, to look forward to. Nobody can feel good in life with that being the case. The single most important thing that you can do as an empty nester is to reassess your values and deliberately seek out new interests, new activities, new passions, new aspirations, and a new purpose for being. Your time, your focus, and your energy and your actions, they still exist. It simply needs to go somewhere else now. Again, there will be some parents who are super excited to totally switch horses in life and have their new interests and activities be totally unrelated to supporting and to taking care of others. And if this is the case for you, now is your chance to have a new and second life and focus on you and what you always wanted to do, but never did, most likely. But for the majority of people who are really struggling with empty nest syndrome, one reason that their life and purpose feels over is because of this strange societal expectation that with the kids gone, what you should do is focus on you and do things like vacation and do things like pick up hobbies. Do you, right? But none of that actually feels fulfilling. For many empty nesters, their actual calling and actual purpose is to be in a support role. This is what drives them. It is what they can't not do. Their purpose for being is to give their energy to someone or to something that needs it, something that can take it and use it. And so, if you are this kind of person, what you need to be looking for specifically is something new to lend your energy to, something in need of support. Having dedicated your life to parenting, you have a very specific skill set, a very valuable one. And that valuable skill set can simply be redirected. There are plenty of youth in this world that are in need of these things that you offer and that you offer naturally. There are plenty of causes in need of support. There are plenty of beings that are absolutely desperate for caretaking. Plenty of places in the world that are in need of what you have to give and what you give naturally and what you're fueled by giving. So just to give you some ideas of what I mean, you could become a mentor. You could get a job working with children. You could join up in a dedicated way with an organization that you care about. And you could pour your support into that. You could caretake animals. You could dedicate your services to helping out new mothers. Or you could become something like a medical caregiver. This list could be very, very long. The real question for you to answer is, do I want to use these skills that I gained from parenting and be in a new and different support role? Do I want to use these skills I have in something new or not? What you have to offer is very much needed and very much matters, so don't slip into this illusion that you don't matter anymore. Different things are now in need of what you have to give. 2, dedicate time to really be with your feelings And believe me, it can be a roller coaster of feelings. Don't be ashamed of feeling what you're feeling. It makes sense that you would be feeling things like grief and sadness and anxiety and devastation and disorientation and loss and, despair and frustration. Rather than rushing to try to not feel the way you feel, go into the feeling themselves. Don't try to suppress, deny, or hide the way you feel. One of the best exercises to do with the feelings that are coming up is emotional experiencing. To learn how to do this, you can watch my video that is titled, How to Do the Emotional Experiencing Process. 3. Let yourself rest and sleep without expecting yourself to get up and do something until you feel intrinsically motivated to do so. One of the most common things to experience in this transition is tiredness, if not absolute exhaustion. That tiredness needs to be tended to, not bulldozed. 4. Be very proactive about being with other people and in person. Many empty nesters find themselves feeling very alone when their children leave. It can feel as if you've poured all of yourself into these people being your children, only to end up all by yourself. It is very critical not to isolate. That means go to gatherings, invite friends over, expand your social circle, go visit people. Don't just surrender to this idea that now you are alone and living alone if you don't want it that way. 5. Actively face and deal with the things that were put on the back burner or even avoided by focusing on your kids. When children leave the house, it can very quickly cause you to come face to face with the things that you haven't been dealing with or the things that were deprioritized. Things like outstanding issues in your marriage or romantic partnership, or even simply putting energy into your partnership. If there are no outstanding issues, things like your health, your mental and emotional well-being, maybe projects that need to be done. The more active you are about facing these things, prioritizing, and resolving them, the better. It is super common for this transition to create relationship stress, amongst couples especially who focused on their children to the detriment of their relationship, to the detriment of nurturing and growing the relationship between each other. This is especially the case if parents feel differently about the children leaving the house. It can make you feel alone with the impact that the experience is having on you. 6. Stay in touch with your children, and don't drop your estimation of your continued importance in their life. The time has come to get to know your child, but as an adult. The reality is the role of being a parent never ends. The job simply changes over time. You're redefining what the relationship looks like. At one point, you had to feed them and you had to carry them around everywhere because they couldn't walk or feed themselves. Well, as you know, that changed, and at another point, they could walk and feed themselves, but they really needed you to be there to talk them through their issues and to support them with their hobbies and homework and things like that. All this transition is another change in what the job of being a parent looks like. Your kids still need you. They just need you in very different ways now than they did before. So what I want you to do is think back on how you needed your parents to be there when you were their age and in this transition yourself. Had your parents been able to be ideal? Check in with what they need, meaning your kids, and prepare to be surprised about how much they may want to handle things on their own. This is a phase where they're really learning to build their confidence at being an adult in the world, right? You have not lost your place in their life. What you have lost is what being in that place looked like day to day before and how it looks like now. Staying in touch with your children is part of continuing to be there for them. It's also a way better strategy, believe me, than simply not letting yourself connect with them when you need to and worrying about them rather than actually knowing how they are and what they're doing. The one thing you want to be really careful of in this transition is not making your child worry about you when you involve them and how you feel about the transition. This doesn't mean lie to them. It just means you don't want to put your child in the position where they're afraid that if they don't come back or do something for you, something bad's going to happen. 7. Accept that you do not have control. Somewhere deep inside you knew that your child is a being that belongs to the universe, that like you, they came here to this life with a very important purpose. And you knew that you would be a big part of the picture of them developing so as to fulfill that purpose. They did not come here to stay a child, dependent on you for everything for the rest of their life. You were raising them to be capable and competent and to be able to thrive in life. And that doesn't mean alone. That just means competent and capable in general, regardless of how many people are around them. At a certain point, just like a bird who takes flight away from the nest, all you can do is place your faith in their capability, to trust them with their own life, knowing that you will be there for them when they need you. The day they took flight was never going to be easy, and it would be according to their own timing, unfortunately. But they are flying off, equipped with the information and skills that you spent years giving them. Now you must trust them to make the most of that information and to make the most of those skills. Now is the time to show them that you believe in them and you trust them with their own life, even in this world that is both wonderful and terrifying. Let them go find and take their place within the world. 8. If you start to feel relief, don't feel guilty. Rather, try to enjoy it. At a certain point, most empty nesters experience some kind of relief. Potentially relief because you don't have as much pressure on you, or because you have a sense of unfamiliar freedom, or because you poured all of yourself into this job and now it's in essence complete and done in some ways, or because you can focus on self-care and put yourself first. There are all kinds of reasons why you may feel relief. This is something to be enjoyed. And no, it doesn't mean that you don't love your children. There is nothing wrong with relief. Raising children is a lot of pressure. It is natural to feel relief when a significant portion of that pressure is suddenly off you. That doesn't mean that you don't love your children or love having them in the house. If you thought about it, you could probably come up with other things that you absolutely adore but still feel some kind of relief about when it's over for one reason or another. 9. Prioritize and schedule some fun, and preferably out of the house. So far, we've been talking about very serious, proactive steps to take to make this transition go well. It is critical to add fun to the picture of this. Getting out of the house for whatever fun you have in mind is also a good idea, because for many empty nesters, the feeling of their child's absence in the house or the silence in the house can be a consistent source of pain in the beginning. When we say that something is fun, what we mean is that we do it for the pure enjoyment of the doing of it. It doesn't need to be something that serves any other purpose than that it feels good. This could look like so many different things. Why? Because what people find fun differs from person to person. For one person, this could mean games. For another, it could mean a sport. For another, vacation. Maybe somewhere they've been wanting to go for a long time. For another, it could mean like a music festival. For another, it could mean a spa. For another, a tantra class. For another, hiking. For another, great food. I also want to say, don't be afraid of trying new things. I know it's funny because most of us have this association with getting old and then you don't try new things, but actually, you should be trying new things for the totality of your life. The worst that can happen is that you hate it and you never want to do it again. The best that can happen is that you have found something new to enjoy about life. It's important to know that you're not alone. So many parents throughout history and even right now at this very minute are going through exactly what you are going through. If you need support on any level to go through this transition, don't try to soldier through it, and don't be hesitant to seek it. When our kids are little, the idea of sending them out into the world and not seeing them every single day is practically unfathomable. Yet the day will inevitably come for most parents when their child flies out of the nest and off into the world towards whatever adventure awaits them. Just like no one prepares you, or could ever prepare you, for how it will feel the day that this child came into your life, your daily life. No one can prepare you for how it will feel when they leave the home and go off into the world of adulthood. But they are going off into the world equipped with everything that you spent so much time and focus and energy giving them. Let your time and focus and energy be called to the next place that needs it, somewhere new. Have a good week.